Hey everyone, today we're diving into the world of a playwright who seems to absolutely love breaking the rules. Seriously, her work has consistently shattered expectations and completely redefined what theater can even do. So let's get into the incredible mind of Caryl Churchill.
So let's kick things off with a question that really gets to the heart of her genius. What if a play's structure could be just as radical as its message? See, for Churchill, the how a story is told is every bit as important as what it's about. She uses the very form of theater to challenge our deepest assumptions about the world.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we'll establish why she's seen as such a revolutionary voice. Then we'll dig into her toolkit, how she literally shatters the rules of the stage. After that, we're going to unpack her sharp critiques of power, explore the deep human questions she's always asking, and finally, wrap it all up with why her work feels more urgent than ever right now. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, a revolutionary playwright. First things first, we need to get a sense of just how massive her impact has been on modern drama.
You know, this quote really just nails it. It's not just about telling interesting stories, it's the way she tells them. She fuses these totally radical storytelling techniques with a fearless take on social issues, and that combination makes her an absolutely essential voice in theater today.
So we know she's a big deal. But how exactly does she pull it off? Well, that brings us to Section 2, shattering theatrical rules. This is where we look at the mechanics of her genius, how she literally breaks the stage to make us see the world in a completely new light. One of her signature moves, just completely dismantling traditional storytelling. She has no time for simple, straight-line plots. And honestly, there's no better example of this than her landmark 1979 play, Cloud 9. The structure of this play is just wild. Act 1 is set in colonial Victorian Africa, and she uses things like having a man play a woman or a white actor play a black character to critique those rigid power structures. But then, get this, Act 2 leaps forward a whole century to 1970s London. The characters themselves have only aged about 25 years, and now they're trying to figure out sexual liberation. It's this brilliant move that draws a direct line from the repressions of the past to the fight for freedom in the present. But Churchill doesn't just mess with time. She completely bends reality itself. A perfect, and I mean perfect, example is the legendary opening scene of her 1982 masterpiece, Top Girls. So the play kicks off with Marlene, a super successful 1980s career woman, throwing a dinner party. But check out this guest list. It's insane. She's having dinner with Pope Joan, a woman who supposedly disguised herself as a man to become pope, and a 13th century Japanese courtesan, among other incredible women from history and fiction. By putting them all at one table, Churchill creates this powerful, surreal conversation across centuries about what it costs women to be successful. So, okay, her methods are revolutionary, but what's the point? What is she trying to say with all this? That brings us right to Section 3, a critique of power. We're going to look at what her plays have to say about money, gender, and the whole social structure. Back in the 80s, Churchill turned her laser focus on the world of high finance. Her play Serious Money was like a scalpel, just slicing open the greed and excess of the financial world. And she wrote the dialogue to be super sharp, fast, with characters talking over each other. It perfectly captures that frantic, morally questionable energy of a trading floor. And as you can see here, this critique of power is a theme that runs through her entire career. In Top Girls, she asks a really uncomfortable question about whether corporate feminism just copied the old boys club, forcing women to compete instead of cooperate. With Serious Money, it's financial corruption, and she's still at it, tackling the legacy of colonialism in recent work. It's like her plays are always asking two things: who's got the power and who's paying the price for it? But her work isn't just about these huge political systems. It gets incredibly personal, too. So let's move on to our fourth section, the human question. This is where we dive into our focus on identity, love, and what it even means to be human. Think about it. How do you possibly capture our fragmented 280-character, information-overloaded lives on a stage? Well, in her play, Love and Information, Churchill's solution was radical. She wrote over 50 short, disconnected scenes. The effect is dizzying, almost overwhelming, and it perfectly mirrors our own desperate search for real connection in this constant flood of digital noise. She's also not afraid to take on the biggest ethical dilemmas of our time, using concepts like, say, human cloning to ask some really profound questions about who we are. She uses this exact idea in her play, A Number, to tackle one of the oldest debates there is, nature versus nurture. The play is about a father and a son who then finds out he's actually just one of a number of clones. It becomes this deeply unsettling look at what makes us us. Is it our genes or is it our life, our experiences?
And all of this leads us to our final and maybe most important section, why Churchill matters right now. Because her work has always been, and still is, a vital mirror held up to our modern lives and all our anxieties.
I mean, look at this. Her finger is just always on the pulse of whatever we're afraid of. Mental illness and environmental decay in the Scricker, collective trauma and climate change in Escaped Alone. And we already talked about the struggle to connect in the digital age with love and information. She's not just a playwright. She's kind of like a diagnostician, putting our biggest collective fears right there on stage for us to look at. Ultimately, when you look at all of her work together, you see this deep, unwavering commitment to social justice. She truly believes in the power of theater, not just to be a fun night out, but to be a space that can genuinely make you think, force you to confront history, and maybe, just maybe, inspire some real change. And that really leaves us with one final challenging question that her work practically screams at us to ask ourselves. If theater's job is to hold a mirror up to society, what are the urgent, uncomfortable truths that we should be forcing ourselves to look at next?